Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the KSP Community Career. Hope you're having a great day today. This episode is all about getting caught up. I've got so many contracts that are Kerbal specific that I just haven't been able to get to yet. So today we're going to launch a whole bunch of them. So today is Pioneer Code Day. At least the first mission is. This is tag SOSX. The SOSX is what I'll probably end up calling them. They just want to know what the conditions are for re-entry for organic. So we've got a couple of Mr. Goo here that has some organic compounds in it that mimic sort of Kerbals, if you will. They just want to understand it a little bit better and figure out what kind of conditions they might be going under. Probe Core is going to be analyzing G-forces, all those types of things. And then we've got thermometer pressure, all that basic stuff there too, as well as the parachutes on everything. Because I've gone ahead and unlocked the survivability node for the research. I've done enough studies on parachutes now to where I can unlock this myself and get these radial chutes. My engineering team is pretty excited about using parachutes on the sides of boosters and stuff now, so we're going to be doing that. And we may start looking into doing it on other stuff as well. There's really no functional reason why we can't put it on the side of liquid fuel tanks and stuff, so probably going to look into doing that. We're not going to put nose cones on here because it's just extra cost. This stage isn't going to be going fast enough for it to really matter anyway. And we're going suborbital with this launch. Studying the effects of like high G environments, like a high G liftoff, and also coming in for landing and high heat and all sorts of these variables that can affect Kerbals is really important as we get ourselves transitioned closer and closer to having Kerbals in space. So I know that a lot of these suborbital missions and stuff, this hop it up there, do some things and bring it back down safe, that may not seem very exciting, but if the RPOs are very specific on what they are looking to study, as opposed to just saying, I want these experiments on my craft, which is what a lot of them have done in the past, they can gain a lot of knowledge that will unlock the abilities to do things that others cannot. I do not allow people to do things just because they exist in the game. You need to have sufficient knowledge to be able to tackle that. And understanding a little bit more about how high G environments impact organics, which is what this mission is about right here, it's a good forward step into getting their own Kerbals, getting them out into space to do other things, and being able to provide a safe environment for them, because my rocket company is also going to need to know how to do these things as well. And when these agencies are doing these missions and stuff and sharing their data with me, it helps me to better prepare for my own people, as well as help me to better prepare for theirs and everyone else's. So it's like sort of a little bit of a joint effort, and these little hop up and down missions really aren't that expensive anyway. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is for Grace Research, and their goal right now is to test out the capabilities of a new device that they are going to be implementing in 3 different locations on Kerbal. Now, this device, obviously we're doing role play, right? This is meant to examine and analyze the composition of other planets through the spectrum of emitted EM waves. It's meant to do a lot of different things, okay? And these are going to be positioned in 3 different locations throughout the surface of Kerbal, okay? They're going to serve as permanent ground-based relays as well, but they're mostly here to gather data about other places so that they have knowledge that they can potentially sell to other RPOs to learn more information about these places because they've done the work for them. This is a good example of how an RPO can role play in our universe. Because remember, Kerbal Space Program is a tool. We are taking, the game is in the universe for Kerbal Space Program, but it is a tool. And therefore, people can do things in a role play environment. They do not necessarily need a rocket. So because we all live on Kerbin, there's 600 million Kerbals on Kerbin, right? And we have things like flatbed trucks and things that we can take things off to. So what they're going to be doing with this is they're going to be carting this off to 3 different locations around Kerbin. They're going to be having a certain location that they've designated on a map, and we are going to put this in that location. But they do not need a rocket. All they need to do is prove that it works. So we have a process for simulations in our role play. First, if it makes sense, you can do it. That's step 1. That's like the one of 2 golden rules, right? If it makes sense, you can do it. Once you've managed to convince me that it makes sense, then you move on to another rule that we have called demonstrate before simulate. And that means you need to demonstrate that what you're trying to do can actually work. In this case, most of the function is role play, but this just needs to be able to operate with all of the instrumentation running, okay? So I've named it radar spec. It can change it. They didn't give me a name, but it's got GRCE as their tag, and then there's an S after it. That tells me that it's a simulation craft. It's just a little symbol for me to put into it. But so what we're gonna do with this is we're just simply gonna launch it the way it is. And again, we're not really launching off. All we're gonna do here, okay, is we're gonna go ahead and extend all the antennas. We have to test it out, make sure everything works. So when the antennas are extended, they are transmitting, and that means they're taking power, okay? Next, we're gonna turn this on, and this is just radar, basically. And all it's doing is this. It's all fully powered up. It's running, it's doing its thing. It's consuming electricity, and we can see that the electric charge is not dropping, okay? So take a look at radar spec. You can see that it is just transmission rate is full speed. Solar panel exposure is 37%, pretty much. And this is, I'm trying to get underneath. Looks like, where's the sun? It's way over there. Okay, so like that's just gonna get improved. That's a pretty optimal angle. They got plenty of batteries here that can last them through the dark side, through the nighttime. And then if we want to, we could turn on telemetry reports and things too, I guess. I mean, they're just a simulated experiment. Maybe this thing is running, that maybe this is the brains that's actually analyzing the waves that are happening, or the color of the light and things like that, right? So this is their demonstration. So how do we do this in roleplay, right? Well, we have this mod called Hyper Edit. It's here, right here. It's very small, sorry. Now, I've added this to the mod list now because we're going to be using it. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to go to the planet editor. Nope, sorry, not the planet editor. The ship lander. And the ship lander, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to change lat, long, altitude, etc. And then we're just going to go ahead and land them there. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to take altimetry data. These are the altimetry maps that many RPOs have been trying to gather, right? And they're going to have to figure out where exactly on Kerbin do they want to be. And when they have that map, they'll be able to analyze the coordinates that are on the map, and then we can plug those into here, and that's where their stuff is located. Now, with the development of the world space and Kerbal Space Program, with our community career anyway, it's not out yet, but version 1.1 of this game is going to feature prominent locations, cities, towns, various different shipping routes, things like that. They're gonna have sort of a spread out, but a more full Kerbin. So players are gonna be able to see where certain locations are. You're gonna be able to see where they are as well when we play the game, because I'm gonna place probes using HyperEdit like this. I'm gonna be placing probes all over Kerbin that has reference points. So you're gonna be able to see these reference points. And then what we can do with that is we basically go into rename vessel, and then I can change the type. And I plan to basically change it to either station. I'll probably change it to station, to be honest. I could do it as base too. That's probably another one to do. But one of these two is probably what we'll change it to. And then that way the icon on Kerbin will look different than the other, all the other icons and stuff that are on Kerbin. So we'll be able to tell them apart. But that's the process that's going to happen. So this is Grace Research. They're going to have 3 of these. And how we've billed them is you have the cost of materials, because again, they're not using my agency for this, right? They're doing it in role play. And in order to have it proper, we're going to put it in the world space, right? You have to purchase land. We have a system in place to purchase and claim land And if you don't have to, but if you don't claim land, someone else could potentially claim the land that you're on because you don't have rights to it. And then you immediately, like from moment one, you begin to pay them rent. Okay? And whatever the rent price is that they've designated, you immediately start paying that because you're already on their land. So there's a bit of a risk to it. You can opt to just say, screw it, I don't want those things, and we can just go ahead and blow them up. But if you are somebody that's like manufacturing on the surface of Kerbin, that may not be an option. So in any case, we do that. If you don't want the land, fine, whatever. Then you get billed for the cost of materials. There is a subjective analysis of how much research and development time and money that you would have had to have spent to come up with a design for this. You're billed for that. And then if depending on the size of it, in this case, we're just going to load it on a flatbed, right? A flatbed truck can take this around. You're billed a set amount for flatbed delivery to wherever it is you're going. In this case, it's $1,000 per craft. They've been billed $3,000 for this. So the total mission for this is about $31,000, I think is what we ended up billing them for this. But it ends up being billed to them, not money spent given to me. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to have to launch these and then hyper edit them. That hits my cost. I will then just reimburse myself for the costs of this. In this case, this is a $9,000 vessel, so it'll be $27,000 out on the map, and then I'll simply give myself $27,000 to offset the cost because I didn't have to pay for it. They did. And they've been billed for it already. So that's how that's going to work. I just wanted to show you that there's other elements to this game. People are able to do things that are not necessarily needing rockets because we have flatbed trucks. We have trains for travel too. So think outside the box. You don't have to launch a rocket for every single purpose you have. All right, so for this mission, we have another one of these ride-sharing missions with 3 completely separate RPOs looking to do 3 fairly different things, but I've got them together as a ride share because they're all going to the North Pole. So let's tackle what these guys are up to one at a time. First, we're going to start with Hexative Incorporated. This is HIM. We've seen their missions before. They're going to be using this central one here, this 5th one at the top here. Now, there are 2 very small drills on this probe, and while we are going to be landing on the surface and they are going to be drilling down into the surface to collect and build up ore, they are mostly testing 2 other elements that go with this. We have some ore featured inside the tank already, and also the drills are on the outside of the probe. They want to get a feel for how re-entry affects mechanical components like this. They also want to figure out whether or not it still works once they land after going through heat. There's a lot of different things that they're looking for, and the surface sample is only a small part of it. They're also going to be measuring the temperature and the atmospheric pressure and everything around it so they can get a good firm grasp as to if the drill does fail or if there is some sort of mechanical failure, at what point and under what conditions did that happen with their current setup. They are also bringing with them inside these 2 mystery goo cans, they're bringing a bottle of water in one and a sandwich in the other. I guess this is like the life support testing meta now. I suppose. In any case, they're bringing that along too, just in case there's anything they can learn from that as well. The next company we've got going on this ride share has 3 of these probes. That is Phoenix Artificial Intelligence Incorporated. They are looking to gather data on the North Pole to try to figure out what creates that green aura. Where's that whole green light sort of come from? How can they, what is going on there? And they want to further investigate it. So we're going to take these 3 probes and land them also on the surface in the North Pole. But we're going to try to sort of spread them out and get them about 100 kilometers apart. So they each have a different view of the same area from a different angle. And they can sort of compare and contrast things. They've got some various different instrumentation on here that will help them analyze the situations as it happens as well. So there's 3 of these little guys, and we're going to have 3 of them landing as close to, if we can get them about 100 kilometers apart, I think is what we agreed to, that's going to be really good for us. These probes also have cameras on them, of course, because you have to capture that beautiful light. So they're going to get a whole bunch of really cool cameras from the North Pole as well. third RPO on this mission, and this is the fifth and final probe over here that has the altimetry scanner on it, is Kerbal Peacekeeping Initiative. Now, they had a goal that they expressed to me, and as I'm looking at the recorded footage, I realize I screwed up in the design of this craft. I'm going to give them credit for exactly what they ordered, but I'm going to have to refund them for the parts that I forgot to include here. So we're going to pretend like those parts are there, but for some reason, when I was building this out, I did not put the 3 Geiger counters on this vessel that they ordered. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to test how AI and programming is impacted by radiation exposure, and they were also looking to add various different shielding to different Geiger counters to see whether or not those instrumentation would read differently depending on the thickness of shielding. So we were supposed to have one that had almost no shielding. We had one that was supposed to have 5mm thick shielding for lead, and one that was 10mm thick lead, and because they figured lead was going to be a good solution for shielding, and I totally missed putting those Geiger counters on there after designing this whole thing. That's my bad. I'm going to give them credit as if they are there. This thing is going to about 150 kilometers, just on the edge of the inner belt, which is a known thing now, by the way. It's been made public. So in any case, this thing's going in the proper place that they wanted to analyze it, and they're looking to get sort of a modified ionic spheric measurement device on board this that will study a hypothetical phenomenon that they have dubbed Kerbal wind. Little do they know how much exactly they're going to be able to get for that whole solar wind thing, but they're going to try. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference with this launch than there is for my normal polar launches, because up until this point, all of the polar satellites, or at least satellites that were going polar, I didn't really need to achieve orbit with the main launch vehicle, because the satellites were going to just simply take themselves to orbit, and then the central core was going to just deorbit itself. It was never going to reach orbit, and it was eventually just going to burn up and die in the atmosphere. With this time, though, in order to make all of these different tasks rideshare, I needed to make small adjustments to Delta V to allow this craft to reach orbit on its own. And then I actually went a little bit overboard with how many fuel tanks I had in the central one here, so that I could use the remaining fuel from the launch vehicle to slow the descent of the central craft there for Hexative. Since theirs is the heaviest, it has ore already in it, it has the drills. Theirs is going to be pretty heavy. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to control where that lands and to do it peacefully, if you will. So I've got extra fuel on that. But that means this one has to actually achieve orbit. And there is unfortunately going to be a little bit of space junk as a result of that, because the stuff is it's very, very close together. So I'm going to use the radial decouplers to create separation for each individual satellite from that central part, and then decouple the part that's behind the engine that was already propelling it before. That creates two separate sort of pieces of space junk. Because it is in orbit, it's not going to be deorbited. Orbits on Kerbin and in Kerbal Space Program, at least by default anyway, they do not decay. There is no orbital decay. So if it's in orbit, if it's out of the atmosphere, it will remain out of the atmosphere forever until somebody can go ahead and clean it up. We might have several RPOs that are able to make a little bit of a living, I suppose, make a little bit of money on cleaning up space if it becomes a big deal. Tiny little decouplers like this probably won't pay very much, so it's probably not worth their time, but there might be whole crafts soon that are going to be worth their time, or at least potentially are worth their time in the future. I hope to keep this to a minimum, but for this mission, it was a little bit unavoidable just because of the way I built it, and I wanted to do it all in one launch, so I was going to have that. So the first little piece here for KPI is, and KPI's mission actually is the whole AI component is actually PAI as well. Like these guys are kind of working together a little bit. Their missions are entirely separate, but they are sort of working together. So part of KPI's mission is actually working with PAI as well. Sorry for all the acronyms, but it's just how we have to refer to these RPOs. They're these role-playing organizations. The tag is an important element. It signifies ownership, it signifies control, and when a craft does something, only the people who have their tag on that vessel are going to benefit from it at all, unless the person who has the tag shares it with them. So in any case, this scanning sat is in orbit. That's the only one that was going to be in orbit. The rest of them are going suborbital, and as you can see, we're sort of trying to line up the other satellites and sort of get them deorbited, right? Use propulsion to get them deorbited and move through the atmosphere as gradually and as controlled as we can, and get them down to the surface with the landing legs and everything with the parachutes. Now, the landing legs is a little bit of a trial and error for my agency. We don't have a whole lot of experience with using landing legs and coming from orbit and landing with them. So we have gone ahead and placed them with default settings. And as you'll see in Kerbal Space Program, at least the micro landing legs, these little micro struts anyways, they are very bouncy. Like they are very, very springy by default. And so if you are not careful or you don't do anything to them, you'll end up bouncing around like a little bunny and you'll probably end up breaking them. So landing legs didn't really do a whole lot of good here for us, at least the first couple tries. But eventually, we would learn from our mistakes. We're gathering data, right, from our failures, and remotely we're tweaking certain things in the software and all that stuff to try to get them to behave the way we want them to behave. I wasn't able to get all of these probes to be exactly 100 kilometers apart. It would have been pretty damn impressive if I was. But 2 of them are about 92 kilometers, so I did a pretty good job there. The other one is a lot closer. Unfortunately, it's like within about 35 or so kilometers. So it's not as spread out as I would like it to be, but at least it's not an equilateral triangle, right? They're not equal sides, but they're on the surface, and I think, based on what I see with them, they're going to probably do a pretty dang good job too. They're going to have to keep them up there at the North Pole for quite some time to get all the data that they need. And then they can move themselves up to recover these crafts later if they'd like to. It's $1,000 per craft that they have to move them to wherever they want to go to analyze them later. So moving crafts on the surface and recovering them does cost RPOs money when they need to do that. But they are able to do it. It's right there. And we look forward to seeing their results. Yeah. So the last one to land in this entire craft is the one from Hexative. So this is HIMs or HIMs. And again, they are mostly looking at sort of like the mechanical elements of those drills and try to see whether or not that equipment is really affected by so much stuff, because we haven't really seen drills sort of get impacted by this yet. So they're looking at that, and then they're going to get them down to the surface, and we're going to start drilling a little bit there too, just to get a surface sample. They can come up and get the probe themselves later. The interesting part about this, I actually had a lot of fuel left, so I was able to come in really controlled on this and be pretty accurate with where I wanted to be. I did want to see the mountains and the horizon just a little bit more, but there's this beautiful shot that it's still very cool. KSP is such a beautiful game, and this is still a really nice shot. I would have liked to have been just a little bit closer to the mountains. I think you can kind of see where I was going for, but it's just a little bit too far away. The mountains are just a little bit over the horizon. Obviously further proving that the planet is indeed round. Just a little bit over the horizon, and I can't see the mountains anymore. Hey, so you guys remember that probe that I totally screwed up on with IXAT, chemistry and material, right? Forgot the parachute, right? Well, this time we didn't forget the parachute, brought it up. It's been in space for more than 2 days. That's what they kind of wanted, if I remember correctly. Either way, we're bringing it back down, and I totally didn't screw it up this time. Yeah, it's great when you actually remember the thing that you're supposed to remember. Anyway, IXAT, you got your stuff. It's landed, safe and sound, and you can start analyzing that in your labs if you'd like to. Speaking of labs and researching things, let's take a look at the research tree because there have been some developments. So we're going to start with basic science as a node. And the Deep Space Scanning Company has patented the surface scanning module. This is a 2-year exclusive patent, and they have added a licensing fee of $5,100. So any RPO that chooses to use one of these surface scanning modules or would like to use one of these to enhance their data or enhance their positioning for mining operations into the future, at least the next 2 in-game years, will need to pay DSSC $5,100 in order to do this, plus the cost of the unit itself, which in this case is $800. So it would be $800 plus 51, which is $5,900, and that would be how much it would cost. I do not profit from the usage of this part. In fact, if I choose to use this part, have to pay the same licensing fee that everyone else does. Now, personally, my agency has really no interest in surface scanning modules, but if I did have interest in it, and if one of my own personal missions needed this, I would have to pay the same fee to them that everyone else does, and they get to use this surface scanning module for cost. They never get billed anything over cost regardless, so they're always going to pay $800 for the usage of this specific part. That's one. The other one, we had a really lucky roll, like super low odds to have it work. And they managed to get it anyway, so congratulations to them. If we take a look in the General Construction tab, we're going to see the magnetometer boom. This is a fairly advanced mechanism, fairly advanced piece of equipment, and this is now patented by KRS. We have not seen much from KRS yet because KRS has not had a mission yet. But what they did have is a bunch of friends. So this is the Kearns Research Satellites Company, and they had quite a few friends that came in and consulted for them. Those friends are knowledgeable in most of the areas that they needed to do this. Not that knowledgeable, but there was a chance, and we allowed the roll to happen. And man, like I swear, like if you're a D&D player, you should see those dice, man. You would just like, oh, can I please have my character sheet be these dice? In any case, with that being said, they now have patented the magnetometer boom. This is a $3,000 cost part to put on a vessel, and KRS will now only pay $3,000 to use this because that is the cost of manufacturing the product. However, if anyone else would like to use it without their permission, or if you are trying to get their permission, it will cost an additional $10,000 to place this part on the vessel, and that $10,000 would go directly to KRS. They have opted to make a 1-year patent on this part. And that means that for the next 1 year, starting yesterday, actually, because I've progressed time just so that we could get stuff moving for Grace Research and get it to be daytime and stuff. So it'd be year 2, day 32 is the expiration of this magnetometer boom. The magnetometer boom is capable of doing experiments that really analyze radiation a lot more thoroughly. They'll give you even more understanding of how to do it. And a study with the magnetometer boom, if you would do a full experiment study with this, you are gaining significant knowledge towards being able to have high quality parts for things that you'd like to have high quality parts with, as well as a precursor knowledge to be able to shield your crafts and stuff later for Kerbals and protecting things. So the studies that this device can do are almost prerequisites for being able to do those two things. So this is going to be a very valuable tool. You could do this in lots of different situations in space, including solar storms. It's a completely different thing there. So this thing can do experiments specifically in solar storms, which is kind of cool. It is also capable of detecting ore on the surface as well. So you could get the location of ore. If you'd like to get the location of other things in the game, though, we're going to need the narrowband scanner and scanning tech unlocked. Your knowledge in scanning needs to be higher if you would like to use it as a resource scanner, but it has the capabilities of doing that as well. Okay, so that is my update on science stuff. We have 168 science. And I need to pay myself for this moon mission as well, the Project Moon mission that we're going to be doing today. And I need to pay myself before we do it because I don't know if we have enough money to actually launch it. So I think it actually might be easier to pay myself with the 100K and then reduce. Maybe. I don't want to hit this button. You know what? Tell you what. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's $60,000. So I'm going to hit this button. And then I'm going to hit this button 40 times. So you can look at the numbers if you'd like to. Here we go. Okay, I actually decided, after hitting this and everything, I actually decided to take an additional 20K away from myself here to dip into the debt that I have for the other bonuses that I've given to. Again, I will have a complete breakdown of all of these things very soon, but I want to get through my Kerbal mission backlog before I start talking about all the different money that transacted and stuff. And then if anyone wants to go in and fact check things, you absolutely can. But we're going to completely disclose all the money that I've earned from this stuff. But I've taken an additional 20K off myself here just to kind of help out with that little bit of money that I'm still up, right? So I have 112,000 now. Let's go to the vehicle assembly building. All right, so the next launch we're doing here is, again, another combined mission. We have 3 different RPOs with all completely different focuses, and we're going to have them ride sharing together to get all the data that they've requested. I'm going to put an asterisk on that, only because Blue's mission, it wasn't quite clear to me. There's been a lot of changes with it, so I'm just sort of throwing the whole kitchen sink at it and just sort of saying, you know what, these are all the things that you kind of said. So we've got some altimetry scanning. We don't have resource scanning. They kind of requested that. We don't have that ability yet. So we've got some altimetry scanning. We're going to have radiation monitoring, temperature monitoring. It's all built into the probe core with pressure and all that stuff. So we're taking care of those things, okay? And they're going to go into orbit for a little while. They're going to get some altimetry data. And I want to say that they actually had a desire for like goo canisters and stuff, but I don't see any references to exactly what they wanted to study. So that might have been their min-miss thing. But I will say that going at orbital speeds with this rocket, it's unlikely I would be able to bring it back safely anyway. So this is going to stay in orbit. It's just going to provide for what they need, and it's going to get them the data from the altimetry scanner, and that's going to be what they do. Now, for the second ones we have Jeff. And Jeff's mission, he's all about the moon, okay? He wants to go to the moon. He wants us to take suborbital up to 150K and take a clear image of the light side of the moon. Now, this would require us to go suborbital with this and to take a picture while we're suborbital, but I'm bringing this on board with a polar launch. So we're not going to be directly, we're not going to have to time the launch, I guess, to get that picture. We're actually going to be in a polar orbit, so it doesn't necessarily matter what phase of the moon is in. We can get the picture regardless because we're polar. So we'll get that clear picture of the moon just the way he wants. Oh, and Jeff, by the way, the name of the company is just Jeff Who Kerman, okay? There's a bit of a story there. Check it out on the Discord if you'd like. Jeff Who Kerman. We're going to take a picture of the moon for you. Then we have PMAG. This is Pyro Mining and Gas. And Pyro's looking to do an in-depth analysis of these tanks. And then we need to bring it back. And here's the thing, though. I don't have this configured properly for this. Let me just change it. So right now I have a heat shield here and then the decoupler here. And I think in order to properly do their request, I'm going to have to change where these are located. That makes sense to me. So we're going to bring this down like this and then pop you something like that, I guess. I wonder if that's even doable. Hang on. Yeah, I think I have to redo this. So they want to do an in-depth analysis of these tanks. And in order to do that effectively, you see, now I've got to go like that. There we go. It's a little difficult doing this upside down. We're going to measure all sorts of different things related to these tanks while we're up in space, okay? Now, and these need to be straight like this. Hi, can I have it? There you go. And so what we're going to do also, though, is they've requested some data on, other types of materials that are going in these goo canisters as well. But they've also requested that there be an explosion near their tanks. They want the tanks to survive, but they want an explosion event to take place. And I think they're hoping to maybe test a few things related to how different materials in space might be able to take shock in that way. So to help with their goal in that, instead of letting the central core of this launch vessel just simply deorbit itself, we're going to go ahead and detonate it instead. All the fuel and everything that's in here, we're going to detonate this core while this vessel is like, maybe 10 meters away from it or so. And that should provide the proper explosion test near their vessel hopefully without necessarily harming this vessel. That's gonna be our main goal. And then once we have that, we're gonna try our best to get this craft to slow itself down for propulsive landing. We're not gonna be able to do propulsive landing, but we're gonna slow ourselves down enough to where we can decouple this. And then we'll use that heat shield for the remainder, and then we'll land with a parachute. So 3 missions, 3 people trying to get completely different types of information. And we're going to do that all right here in this one launch. And it's the same launch vessel we've done before, but they get to all ride together on this. So let's go ahead and see how it goes. All right, we're here on the launch pad, and I'm going to just time accelerate a little bit here. We're going to get ourselves lined up to where we could see the moon. We're going to try to take a picture of it on the way up because it's just real easy to do that and then start the transmission. So we'll go ahead and do it for about here and maybe just a little bit more. Yeah, so right about here is good. And then get off the map, SAS on, and go. Getting a little hot there, but fine. We're gonna head on up here to about 60 or so, and then we'll decouple this and start our final little stage here. I didn't put any parachutes on this stage. That's kind of my bad, but just sort of used an existing template that I already had. Just kind of amended an existing template. Okay, so we're now in space. Yep, good. Let's just go ahead and extend this really quick, get us faster transmissions on some of these things. We're going to open up the camera, and we can go into the tools for the camera. You don't have to maneuver the craft. You can actually just maneuver the camera itself. So I'm just going to have the camera head up this way, and I can kind of see on the unit itself, you can kind of see it move, right? So we know where the moon is. We're just going to move the lens towards the moon. There it is. And we'll zoom in, kind of give it a quick little, a little bit off, isn't it? Not quite seeing the moon anymore. We can maybe tilt it a little bit this way. That should be fine just for this little bit here. And then we'll snap the photo close as we can get it. All right. That's fine. There's a photo. Okay, we got the photo. That's it. Light side of the moon. Okay. Now we can focus kind of entirely on getting the rest of the mission done. So we're gonna get ourselves. We've got one tank here. It's about half full. That's the tank that we're kind of analyzing. That they're kind of analyzing. And this is the part that's gonna come back down to the surface. This part here is going to be expended. We're going to use the fuel in this tank with this engine to kind of slow our descent, because I think we'll probably be coming in too hot. Mostly because it'll be very steep. The descent is very steep. So it's going to happen really quickly. We're not going to have enough time to sort of burn off our speed before we get too thick into the atmosphere. So that engine's going to serve as a sort of a tool to do that. Okay, so we're going to start by controlling from here as soon as that burns out. There we go. Control from here and decouple this stage. just to kind of get some separation really quick. We're going to go ahead and, again, control from here. And let's pop this. And then we're just going to rotate around. Extend the antenna. That's fine. Let's punch it. Whoa, too far. And punch it. Okay, so now we're just going to, as squirrely as it is, get ourselves to orbit with this. My goodness. SAS, please. There we go. Get ourselves to orbit with this. Where's the sun? Over there. So we're just going to rotate really quick. And this should make orbit very quickly. Shouldn't need to do too much. It's not rocket science. And done. Okay, that's orbit. Now let's go back. All right, so this part here, this is suborbital, so we need to go a little bit quickly here. We're going to take and control from here real quick. Let's go ahead and decouple this. And we're just going to bop this for a little bit of separation. And then what I want to do is I'm going to rotate you around. We're going to pretend the camera's looking that way. And maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe we can get the camera to actually see it. I don't know. Let's find out. We open the camera up. Yeah, I can kind of see it. All right, it's right there. We have visual of the target. We're going to go ahead and switch to this. We can see the target, and we're going to go Alt F12. We're going to get the object thrower, arm it, and fire. That's so much fun. All right, so we detonated this nearby, okay? That was the whole point of that exercise, was to detonate that, okay? They're studying something, yeah? Yeah, they're studying something. All right, so let's go ahead and control from the probe core again. We're going to decouple this, and we could probably point retrograde while we do it, right? That will actually kick it prograde. We don't want to do that, just in case. So let's make sure that we're kicking this retrograde, and go. Perfect. All right, now we're going to spin this thing around. We're going to arm the parachute, because we are on our way down here. Okay, yeah, sure. We're just going to spin around for a little bit first. That's great. And SAS, perfect. Control it. Good. There we go. Scan target and I don't know. We'll just make sure we get that moon. Make sure we get that moon picture transmitted, right? Okay. So I think at this point we're ready to initiate our entry here. We're gonna go to toggle info on the parachute. Altitude. Let's program this to go about it's like 5,800 is fine, and we'll make sure that we deploy this. Okay, so the parachute's armed. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to activate the engine. All right, and we're just going to kill it down for a second. So we got 749 meters per second. I'm hoping that that's enough to slow our descent enough where we don't burn up. That's the hope. So let's all the way down to the atmosphere here really quick. Okay, we're in atmo. We're coming in really steep, right? So we're just going to turn on the thruster. Make sure we're slowing down. All right. And let's go ahead and turn it on just a little bit more than that. We want to slow down, right? It's going to get real hot real quick if we don't do this. There's the other stage. Hopefully they're going to start zipping by us here, but hopefully not too fast. We're going to start seeing some heat forces here any second. There we go. Let's turn this, crank it up all the way. Really want to slow ourselves down as much as possible and then eject this. There we go. Slowing our descent with the engines. Very nice. Good. And almost. Couple. Okay, that gets rid of it, but it's not completely getting rid of it. Oh no, we lost control. Oh no. Oh no, I lost control. Oh no, am I slowed down enough? Oh, please be slowed down enough. I have no control. Oh no. Oh, I think we're good. I think we're okay. Oh shit. No! Wait, that's the engine. Why am I on the engine? Go back to the probe core. No, where's the parachute? Oh my gosh, everything's just... Oh my god, why? Okay, well, there's no parachute, so... Shit. Come on, man. Dude, that's bull. Every single part is just separated now. The whole thing came apart. And the thing is, it should have been coming right down with the heat shield. It should have been, but when you decouple things, it doesn't necessarily, get ejected. It doesn't necessarily. I wonder what the ejection force on that was. I bet it was low. I bet that's probably the only reason. The ejection force on that, the setting for that was probably really low. So like, all intents and purposes, PMAG's mission is kind of a failure. We did transmit a lot of data, but they didn't get the chance to record. They didn't get a chance to get the tank, right? Like I don't know if they needed the tank, but certainly it would have helped if they had the tank. And I have no idea where the hell the tank is. It seems like it might have blew up. And now it's just a probe core with a missing parachute for some reason. No idea. The radial antenna and both goo canisters survive. All the things that are mounted radially survive, but not the antenna. Or not the parachute. So bizarre, man. Ugh. It sucks. It sucks. We were so close to getting the whole mission done. Everything is just falling from the ground, from the sky. Yeah, everything just falls from the sky. Apparently we transmitted something. I don't know what's going on. Well, on the plus side, we have a rather beautiful sunset, don't you think? Huh? Oh my gosh. And then under the water. What am I zoomed in on right now? Like, is there a part here? No. Oh, that's a real shame, dude. Like, that mission should have been a success. That should have worked. It just, we got really unlucky with losing connection right as we decoupled it, and then, like, I don't know, like I couldn't get the thing to. That's a real shame. Why isn't it prompting me to like end the mission? There it goes. Okay, back to the Space Center. Aerodynamic stresses caused the parachute to fail, which is a little bit strange because I guess the whole thing just came apart. Yeah, all of it just came apart with aerodynamic stress, which I suppose makes sense. It was sideways, but it should have worked, man. All right, I'll have to find another solution for pyro mining and gas. It does sound like we were able to transmit Jeff's photo. We at least got that done. And then, Blue's got a satellite now that's in orbit. So there's that. I'll have to figure out a solution for for pyro. Maybe we can send that up in an orbital craft that's like super, ready to rock. There's the Junip over there. I don't know where. Well, Grace Research's stuff is on the other side of the planet. So anyway, all of that happened. That's cool, I guess. Research and development. Let's take a look. We have 174. We are going to launch one more mission in this video. But I think I'm going to unlock some things. I want to get, simple command pods. But fuel systems is something I really want to get. I really want to be able to move fuel around. And I think this is a good tank to get to for part counts and everything. And then is it propulsion systems that had the cool engine in it? It was lifters. The Walrus. Yeah. I think it was the Walrus. 750 kilonewtons. Yeah, the Bobcat's kind of cool too, but it's just not as good. It's just cool, but it's not as good. I forget what this engine was. Is the Cheetah. Yeah, the Cheetah was the one I was looking at. Yeah, okay. So I kind of want to get this one, but I know that there's several people who are wanting stuff that's in here, and we're going to want to bring, I think, some of this stuff with us, I think. We also have another mission to do that involves these lights, and I'd like to kind of do that as well. So I'm going to unlock electrics. I think that's a good way to do it. So electrics is now unlocked. And I have another mission with these lights, and honestly, the lights are so basic, so I don't have to worry about people like patenting, these spotlights. These are lights, guys. They're not exactly something the Kerbals don't already have. Okay, we could look at, at least those two because I need them for a mission. Then we have Gorsat, and the Ghetto Blaster. Somebody asked, and I think Bluesy asked me in a video or in the Discord, what's a Ghetto Blaster? There you go. It's a boombox. Yeah. Long flights can be boring and sometimes even unbearable. To brighten up the life of our brave space explorers, our engineers have developed a special version of the cassette recorder. A tape recorder without a cassette. Yeah. It always plays the same tune, thus completely eliminating any conflicts between crew members concerning musical preference. Perfect, isn't it? It's great. We have some compact probe cores here too. We might look into getting some of those in the future too. And I think miniaturization was another one that was kind of a hot button one. Space exploration is the big one right now. But I think I want to get command modules too. I'm very close to getting this, and this will let me do Kerbals. We're definitely going to have that command pod and start getting Kerbals in space. So that's probably going to be next time. But before we get into all that stuff, we have another big mission to do, and this is for Project Moon. And we will actually walk you through Project Moon's mission next time. I'm going to split this big sort of sitting of missions into 2 videos for you. So we're going to release that tomorrow. So if you're watching near the end of this, come on back tomorrow for episode 9. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And for all of you guys who are playing the game with me, nearly 80 RPOs. It's getting crazy close to that limit. Thank you so much for playing my game. Well, our game, really. I mean, this is seriously a huge team effort. There's so much going on behind the scenes. Jasmine's helping me a ton with the world building stuff coming up soon. Bluesy's like a ridiculous champion with this bot and this development and stuff. And just thank you so much, guys, for just being there and playing this awesome game and experience with us. We got a lot more coming, so I hope you're in for the long haul, because I'm gonna be. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.